In the crisp autumn of 1978, the winds swept across the dusty fields of our small village in Henan, China, carrying whispers of change. The Cultural Revolution had just ended, and the sent-down youth city dwellers forced to labor in the countryside were trickling back their dreams battered but alive. I, Jodie Young, was 20, my hands calloused from years of toiling in the fields, my heart tethered to a man who would become my most significant regret, Michael Scott. He was a former sent-down youth, charming and sharp-eyed, with a smile that made the village girls blush. But he was more than a pretty face, he was my world. Our village ran on work points, a system where every hour of labor earned you a share of grain oil or salt. Without points, you starved. Michael's family was dirt poor, scraping by on his meager earnings. His mother, Linda Chen, was widowed and frail, her body weakened by years of grief and a recent leg injury that left her hobbling. His younger siblings, Amy and Eric, were bright, but too young to work their wide eyes watching every meal with hunger. I saw their struggle and felt it as my own. Love blinded me, and I poured everything into them, my strength, resources, and future. Each dawn I rose before the roosters, my back aching from the previous day's labor. I hauled water, cut firewood, and worked the fields, earning work points I gave to the Scots. My meals grew sparse. I'd slip my share of rice to Amy, watching her small hands clutch the bowl. When Linda's leg broke in a fall, I nursed her, spoon-feeding her porridge, cleaning her bedside, and helping her shuffle across the dirt floor until she could walk again. My father, John, the village leader, watched with a furrowed brow. "Jodie, you're giving too much," he warned, his voice rough but kind. "They're using you." My mother, May, fiercer than a winter storm, grabbed my arm one evening, her eyes blazing. "You're wasting your youth on that boy. He's no good." But I shook my head, my heart stubborn, believing Michael would see my worth. Years passed and my sacrifices bore fruit for them. Amy and Eric, nourished by my labor, excelled in school and won places at top universities in Beijing, escaping the village's mud and toil. Linda's health steadied her limp fading, but I paid a price. By my late 30s, my hair had turned white, each strand a testament to sleepless nights and endless work. My body, once strong, felt like cracked jade, brittle and worn. The village doctor, a gruff man named Uncle Lee, who doubled as the accountant, delivered the final blow, a terminal illness, likely from years of overwork and malnutrition. "You've got months, Jodie," he said, his voice soft with pity. I sat alone that night, staring at the stars through our cracked roof, my chest tight with fear. I didn't want to die, not like this, not after giving everything. Desperate, I dragged my broken body to the city, seeking Amy and Eric. They were my last hope, the siblings I'd raised like my own. I found them in a bustling apartment, their faces flushed with success. "Please," I begged, my voice hoarse, "help me find a doctor." Amy's eyes flickered with unease. Eric looked away. "We can't, Jodie," Amy said coldly. "We have our own lives now." Eric nodded, his silence cutting deeper than words. Stunned, I stumbled into the city streets, my vision blurring with tears. Death loomed, a shadow I couldn't outrun. Then by chance I saw Michael alive, striding confidently in a crisp suit, his arm around Lai Wu, another sent-down youth. Her laughter rang out sharp and carefree as they walked past a noodle shop. My heart stopped. Michael hadn't died in that accident years ago. His body was never found because he'd faked it all. He'd abandoned me, the country bumpkin who slaved for his family to chase a life with Lee, a cultured city girl. The truth hit like a sickle. My labor had freed him, funded his escape while I withered. Rage boiled inside me, hotter than the summer sun. I couldn't let them live while I faced death. That night I crept to their city house, my hands trembling as I locked the door from outside. The match flared and the flames roared, swallowing their screams. I stood back, the heat searing my face, their cries of agony echoing my pain. Then with a vial of rat poison I ended my life, the bitterness lingering on my tongue. A strange warmth enveloped me as darkness closed in like the village's ancient spirits, whispering of justice. When my eyes opened again, I was back in 1978, standing in the fields, a sack of flour on my shoulder, 20 years old. Reborn, I vowed never again would I be their fool. The city streets of 1998 buzzed with life, a stark contrast to the quiet fields of our Henan village. I, Jodie Young, wandered them, my body a husk of its former self, ravaged by illness and years of sacrifice for Michael Scott's family. At 38, I was a ghost among the living, my white hair tucked under a worn scarf, my steps unsteady. The diagnosis from Uncle Lee, our village doctor and accountant, echoed in my mind, terminal months left. I had given everything work points food my youth to Michael's mother Linda and his siblings Amy and Eric. They had thrived while I withered. Desperate for a lifeline, I sought Amy and Eric in Beijing, where they had settled after university, their futures bright thanks to my labor. Their apartment was a world away from our village's mud brick homes, clean modern with electric lights that mocked my poverty. I knocked, my hands trembling. Amy opened the door, her face polished with city confidence. "Jodie," she said, surprise tinged with unease. Eric stood behind her, his eyes avoiding mine. "I'm dying," I rasped, my voice breaking. "Please help me find a doctor." Amy's lips tightened. "We're busy, Jodie," she said coldly. "We can't afford to get involved." Eric nodded, his silence ablaze. "You've done enough," he muttered, as if my sacrifices were a debt they'd already paid. Stunned, I staggered back, their door slamming shut. The rejection burned deeper than my illness, a betrayal that cracked my heart open. I had raised them, fed them, given them my life, and they turned me away like a beggar. Lost in the city's clamor, I drifted, the weight of death pressing closer. Then fate twisted the knife. Near a bustling noodle shop, I saw him, Michael Scott, my husband, presumed dead in a 1978 accident. His body was never found, and I had mourned until my tears dried. Yet there he was alive, striding in a crisp suit, his arm wrapped around Li Wu, a sent-down youth like him. Her laughter, sharp and carefree, cut through the street noise. They paused, and Michael brushed a strand of hair from her face, his smile radiant. My knees buckled. He hadn't died. He had faked it, abandoning me, the country bumpkin who slaved for his family to build a life with Lee, a cultured city girl who shared his ambitions. Every work point I earned, every grain of rice I gave, had funded his escape, his romance. I was nothing to him, but a tool discarded when no longer helpful. Rage surged, a fire hotter than the Henan sun. I couldn't let them live while I faced death, my body crumbling from their greed. That night I crept to their city house, a modest building glowing with warmth I'd never known. My hands shook as I poured oil around the foundation, the smell sharp in the cool air. I locked the door from outside, trapping them, Michael Lai and the family who knew his secret. The match flared, and flames roared to life, licking the walls. Their screams pierced the night, desperate pleading as the fire consumed them. I stood back, the heat searing my face, their agony a mirror to my own. Guilt flickered, but betrayal smothered it. They deserved this, I told myself, my heart pounding with righteous fury. Then I raised a vial of rat poison to my lips, its bitterness a final release. As my vision faded, a strange warmth enveloped me, like the ancient spirits of our village fields, whispering of justice, of second chances. When my eyes opened, I was no longer in 1998. I stood in a Henan field, the autumn of 1978, a sack of flour heavy on my shoulder. I was 20 again, my body intense, my hair dark. The village sprawled before me, unchanged mud brick homes, the distant clang of hose, the scent of earth. My parents, Jian and Mei, were alive, their voices calling from our house. Uncle Lee still tallied work points at the village office. But I was different. The memories of my past life burned in my mind, Michael's deception, his family's ingratitude, my fiery revenge. The spirits of the land, perhaps stirred by my pain, had granted me rebirth, a chance to rewrite my fate. I clutched the flower, my breath ragged. Tears welled not from grief but from resolve. I had been their fool, slaving for a man who never loved me, for a family who used me no more. I turned from the path to the Scots' house, my steps firm, vowing never to let them exploit me again. But a chill ran through me as I walked. If I were reborn, what about them? Michael, Linda, Amy, Eric. Had the spirits brought them back too? The thought tightened my chest, a mix of fear and determination. I wasn't the naive girl of my past life. I would protect myself, my family, and my future this time. The fields stretched wide, the horizon glowing with dawn. I whispered to the wind, to the spirits that might still listen, "I'll make them pay." My heart, once soft with love, now burned with purpose. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. In the golden haze of 1978, our Henan village pulsed with the rhythm of survival. The Cultural Revolution had ended, and the reinstatement of college entrance exams sparked hope among the sent-down youth city dwellers once exiled to our fields. Work points ruled our lives. Every swing of a hoe and every wheat bundle earned a share of rice or oil. Without them, hunger waited. Jodie Young, was 20, my hands rough from labor, my heart tethered to Michael Scott. He was the village's golden boy, his sharp features and easy smile turning heads. But his family was a burden, his widowed mother, Linda Chen, frail and often bedridden, his siblings, Amy and Eric, too young to toil. The eldest, Michael, carried their weight, and I foolishly had his. Love made me blind. I saw Michael's poverty not as a warning, but as a call to prove my devotion. Each morning I woke to work the fields before dawn, my breath fogging in the cool air. I earned work points precious as gold and gave them to the Scots. My meals shrank half a bowl of porridge, a few wild greens, so Amy and Eric could eat. I hauled firewood for Linda, my shoulders aching, and when her leg injury kept her down, I brought her rice from my family's stores, even if it meant my mother May scolding me. "Jodie, you're starving yourself for them," she snapped, her eyes fierce with worry. My father, Jian, the village leader, was gentler but firm. "Michael's using you, girl," he said one evening, his voice low over the crackle of our fire. "He's charming, but charm doesn't fill a belly." I shook my head stubborn. "He needs me, Dad. I love him." In my heart, doubt flickered. Michael was never cruel, but his kindness was tepid. He accepted my gifts, flour, oil, my work points, without a word of thanks. When I followed him to the fields, helping him cut grass or carry water, he'd nod, his eyes distant. Yet I clung to hope, believing my sacrifices would bind us. The village buzzed with change. The college exams reopened after a decade promised a way out. Michael dreamed of university, of escaping our mud-brick world. I saw myself as his partner, lifting him. Uncle Lee, the village accountant and doctor, saw through my delusion. "Jodie, you're giving your life to a man who doesn't see you," he said one day, tallying points at his desk. His gruff care stung, but I ignored it, my heart set on Michael. My days blurred into labor. I'd finish my chores, then rush to the Scots' house, hauling grain sacks or repairing their leaky roof. My parents' warnings grew sharper. May grabbed my arm one night, her calloused hands tight. "You're throwing yourself away, Jodie. That family's a leech." I pulled free, tears pricking my eyes. "He'll love me back, Mom. You'll see." But doubt gnawed deeper. At night, lying on my straw mat, I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if Michael saw me as more than a helper. The village's rhythm hose striking, earth children laughing. The clink of work point tallies felt like a clock ticking down. I was young, but my body ached, my hands cracked from work. Still, love drove me forward, a fire I couldn't douse. Michael's beauty hid his flaws. Girls once swooned over him, but his family's poverty scared them off. I was the fool who stayed, believing my devotion would win his heart. In my past life, I didn't see the truth. Michael was stringing me along, taking my labor while his eyes were elsewhere. The spirits of our land, perhaps watching from the ancient fields, saw my blindness. They would grant me a second chance, but not yet. For now, I poured myself into the Scots, my heart full of hope, my hands complete of their burdens. Each work point I gave, each meal I skipped, was a brick in a dream I built alone, a dream that would soon crumble. In the summer of 1978, our Henan village shimmered under a relentless sun, the fields alive with the hum of cicadas and the clink of hoes. The reinstatement of college entrance exams had set the village abuzz, a rare chance for escape from our work point-driven lives. Jodie Young, was 20, my heart a captive to Michael Scott, the most handsome man in the nearby villages. His sharp jaw and warm eyes haunted my dreams, but his family's poverty, his frail mother, Linda Chen, and young siblings Amy and Eric cast shadows over his charm. I didn't care. I poured my labor into them, giving work points, hauling grain, believing love would bind us. Yet doubt, like a weed, had taken root in my heart, fed by my parents' warnings and Michael's distant gaze. For 300 days, I chased him, my hands raw from extra field work, to earn points for his family. I'd slip rice to Amy and Eric, ignoring my hunger, and mend Linda's tattered clothes. Michael accepted my gifts with a nod, never cruel, but never warm. My mother May's voice, sharp as a sickle, scolded me daily. "Jodie, he's taking you for a fool," she snapped, her eyes blazing in our dim kitchen. My father, Jian, the village leader, was softer, but stern. "He's not worth your heart, girl," he said, his calloused hand on my shoulder. Uncle Lee, the village accountant, shook his head as he recorded my points going to the Scots. "You're too good for him, Jodie," he muttered. I brushed them off, believing that my devotion would make Michael mine. As the sky burned orange one evening, I brought a basket of eggs to the Scots' crumbling house. My heart raced as I knocked, hoping for a smile. Michael opened the door, his face weary. Before I could speak, he pulled me into a sudden embrace, his arms strong around me. "Jodie," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. That night he made me his woman, his touch both thrilling and strange. Joy flooded me. I believed he'd finally seen my worth. My sacrifices, every skipped meal, every aching hour in the fields felt rewarded. Lying beside him in the dark, I dreamed of a future, our hands linked under the Henan stars. But the truth was a poison I didn't taste. Michael's heart belonged to Li Wu, a sent-down youth from the city. Her soft voice and graceful ways were apart from my calloused hands. Like Michael, she'd been forced to the countryside during the Cultural Revolution, but her eyes sparkled with ambition. Both dreamed of the college exams, a ticket back to the city. They'd grown close in the fields, sharing books and plans, their bond a secret kept from me. Lee liked Michael. Her laughter was bright when they spoke, but his family's poverty, Linda's frailty, Amy and Eric's dependence was a burden she wouldn't carry. She strung him along, teasing hope until she firmly rejected him. "I can't, Michael," she'd said, her voice cold. "Your family's too much." Devastated, Michael turned to me, not out of love, but spite. I was his fallback, a steady hand to lift his family while he nursed a broken heart. In my past life, I didn't see it. I thought his embrace was love, not a transaction. My joy closed my eyes to the truth. He took my body, my labor, my dreams, while longing for Lee. At night, as I lay awake, a quiet ache grew. Why did his eyes wander when we spoke? Why did his touch feel like duty? I pushed the thoughts down, clinging to the hope that I was enough. The village's rhythm work points tallied, exams looming. I pressed on, but my heart wavered. The ancient spirits of our field, silent witnesses to my devotion, seemed to stir as if they knew the betrayal awaiting me. They would offer me a second chance, but for now I was a fool in love building a dream on sand. In the harsh summer of 1978, our Henan village toiled under a blazing sun, the fields demanding every ounce of strength for work points that meant survival. The Cultural Revolution's shadow lingered, but the reinstated college entrance exams offered a glimmer of escape for ambitious souls like Michael Scott. Jodie Young had given everything to him and his family, my labor, food, and heart, blinded by a love that ignored their poverty. Michael's mother, Linda Chen, frail and widowed, leaned on me, as did his young siblings, Amy and Eric, their hungry eyes watching every meal I brought. But my sacrifices were a chain, and Michael held the key, plotting a betrayal that would shatter me. In my past life, Michael's ambition burned brighter than his affection. While I slaved in the fields, earning work points to feed his family, he studied for the exams, his eyes fixed on a city future. I hauled grain, mended their roof, and nursed Linda, my body aching, my meals sparse. My parents, Jian and May, watched with growing alarm. May, fierce as a storm, grabbed my arm one dusk. "Jodie, you're killing yourself for them." She snapped, her voice trembling with anger. Jian, the village leader, was calmer but firm. "He's using you, girl. Stop this." I ignored them, my heart stubborn, believing Michael's embrace meant love. But he had a secret plan that would forever bind me to his family's needs. Michael's heart belonged to Li Wu, a sent-down youth whose city grace outshone my calloused hands. Rejected by her, he settled for me, but his college dreams demanded my labor. When the exams were reinstated, he passed his path to the city clear. I stayed behind, working to support Linda, Amy, and Eric, foolishly proud of my success. My parents, unable to watch me waste away, were dragged into helping. Despite his doubts, Jan carried firewood to the Scots' house. May, grumbling, shared our grain. For Jodie's sake, she muttered, her eyes hard. I thought I'd chosen a capable man, not seeing the trap being woven. Now in the city, Michael rekindled his romance with Li Wu, using my hard-earned money to buy her clothes and meals. He never lifted a finger for his family, leaving me and my parents to bear their burdens. Then came the cruelest blow. Michael faked his death. He, Linda, Amy, and Eric orchestrated a lie, an accident, a missing body to keep me slaving without question. He's gone. Jodie, Linda wept her tears, convincing. I mourned, my heart broken, and doubled my efforts for them, believing it was what Michael would have wanted. The Scots, ungrateful, took everything, their greed, a poison I didn't taste. Uncle Lee, tallying points at the village office, shook his head. "They're leeches, Jodie," he said, his voice heavy with pity. I was too lost in grief to listen. In my reborn life, I awoke in 1978, standing on a narrow path through the fields, a sack of flour heavy on my shoulder. The memories of my past life flooded back Michael's betrayal, his family's deception, my fiery revenge. The ancient spirits of our land, perhaps stirred by my pain, had granted me this second chance. My breath caught tears pricking my eyes, not from sorrow, but from a searing clarity. I had been their mule, my labor funding Michael's dreams while I withered. My parents' warnings, Uncle Lee's pity echoed in my mind. I saw May's fierce eyes, Jian's gentle concern, and felt a pang of guilt for ignoring them no more. I turned from the Scots house, the flower still on my shoulder, my steps firm toward home. As I walked, a chill gripped me. If the spirits had brought me back, had they revived Michael and his family too? The thought tightened my chest, mixing fear with resolve. I wasn't the naive girl of my past life pouring love into a void. This time I would guard my heart labor and future. The fields stretched wide, the village's rhythm hose, striking earth voices calling unchanged. But I was different, my soul hardened by betrayal. I whispered to the wind and spirits that might still watch, they'll never use me again. My heart, once soft, now burned with purpose, ready to unravel the Scots' web of deceit. In the autumn of 1978, our Henan village thrummed with the rhythm of survival, its fields golden under a fading sun. The Cultural Revolution's scars lingered, but the reinstated college entrance exams fueled dreams of escape, especially for sent-down youth like Michael Scott. Work points earned through sweat in the fields were the currency of life-trading labor for rice oil or salt. I, Jodie Young, stood reborn on a dirt path, a sack of flour heavy on my shoulder, my heart no longer naive. The memories of my past life, Michael's betrayal, his family's greed, my fiery vengeance burned like a brand. The ancient spirits of our land, stirred by my pain, had granted me this second chance. I would not waste it. I turned from the path to the Scots house, my steps resolute toward home. In my past life, I'd given everything to Michael, Linda, Amy, and Eric, Workpoint's food youth, only to be discarded. Now at 20, my body strong again, I vowed to protect myself. As I entered our mud brick home, my parents, Jian and May, looked up, startled. The flour sack meant for the Scots thudded to the floor. May, her eyes fierce as ever, frowned. "Jodie, why are you back? Didn't you say they had no rice?" Jian, the village leader, studied me, his brow creased with suspicion. "What's changed, girl?" I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the storm within. "Dad." "Mom, I'm done with Michael. No more work points or food for the Scots. I swear if I ever waver, may I die a wretched death." Joy flashed in May's eyes, her calloused hand gripping mine. "You mean it?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. Jian's skepticism softened. "You're not just saying that, are you?" I nodded solemn. "I mean it. I've woken up." I couldn't tell them of my rebirth of the spirit's gift, but the weight of my past life's pain lent truth to my words. May hugged me, her strength a shield. She vowed that if those leeches come near you, I'll chase them off myself. Jian smiled a rare and warm smile. "Good girl." Relief battled guilt in my chest. I'd ignored their warnings before dragging them into my folly. Now their trust felt like a lifeline, but I had to act fast. This month's work points, earned through days of backbreaking labor, were still unassigned. If they went to the Scots, I'd be trapped again. I rushed to the village office where Uncle Lee, the accountant and doctor, sat hunched over his ledger. His gruff face softened as I burst in panting. "Uncle Lee, my points, have they gone to the Scots yet?" He looked up, eyes sharp. "Just about to. They worked 10 days this month, 4 mouths to feed." "You're their workhorse, Jodie." His words stung, echoing my past life's blindness. "Not anymore," I said firmly. "Those points are mine. No one goes to them." His jaw dropped, then a grin spread. "Finally awake, eh? About time. I'll fix it." He scratched out the entry relief in his eyes. "Don't go back, girl. You're worth more." As I left, a weight lifted, but fear crept in. If the spirits had reborn me, had they spared Michael Lai and the Scots? The thought chilled me, my resolve hardening. A soft voice froze me in my tracks that night, passing the reeds by the village creek. "Michael, you came back too." It was Li Wu, her city accent unmistakable. I crept closer, the darkness cloaking me. Michael's voice, low and bitter, answered, "Yeah, Li, but why this miserable era? We were living well before." My heart raced. They were reborn just as I feared. Li sighed. "We'll use Jodie again like last time. She's dumb enough to fall for it. Let her work, let her family help while we study for the exams. Their words were a blade slicing through my newfound strength. They hadn't changed their greed as vile as before. Anger surged, but I held still, my breath shallow. Michael's voice grew eager. We'll get better scores this time, Lai. Jodie's labor will free us. My fists clenched, nails biting my palms. The spirits had given me this moment a chance to see their true faces. I wasn't the fool they thought. Silently, I vowed to unravel their plan to turn their greed against them. The reeds swayed in the night wind as if the land itself urged me on. Once broken by love, my heart now pulsed with defiance, ready to fight. The night air in our Henan village was thick with the scent of earth and reeds, the stars sharp above the fields in the autumn of 1978. The town, still reeling from the Cultural Revolution, clung to work points as lifelines, each one a promise of rice or oil. The college entrance exams, newly reinstated, stirred dreams of escape, but for most like me, Jodie Young, survival meant labor, reborn with the memories of my past life's betrayal. I walked the village paths with a new fire in my chest. Michael Scott Lee Wu and his family had planned to exploit me again, their voices in the reeds betraying their greed. The ancient spirits of our land who had granted me this second chance seemed to whisper in the wind, "Act now." I crept closer to the reeds by the village creek, my heart pounding as I overheard Michael and Lee Wu plotting. "Jodie's dumb enough to work for us," Lee said, her city accent cutting through the dark. "We'll study and she'll carry our burdens." Michael's laugh was cold. "Like last time, Lee. She'll never suspect." Rage surged a tide, threatening to drown me. In my past life, I had given them everything, my work points, food, and heart, only to be discarded. Now reborn, I saw their true faces. My hands shook, but not with fear. I scooped up stones from the path, their weight grounding my fury. With a silent prayer to the spirits, I hurled them into the reeds, the thuds followed by sharp yelps. Michael cursed. La gasped, their voices tangled in pain. I pinched my throat, mimicking a villager's high-pitched cry. "Hey! Someone's messing around in the reeds! Catch the shameless couple!" My voice echoed, strange and bold, stirring the night. The village patrol, ever vigilant in an era where premarital dalliances were scandalous, charged toward the creek, their lanterns bobbing. I slipped into the shadows, my pulse racing. The reeds parted, revealing Michael and Lai, soaked and shivering, having stumbled into the icy river in their panic. "It's Michael Scott," and Lai Wu, a patrolman, barked, caught sneaking around. The village buzzed as word spread, gossip igniting like wildfire. In 1978, such scandals could ruin futures, especially those eyeing college exams. The next morning, the village square hummed with outrage. Michael and Lai summoned before the elders faced doubled labor assignments as punishment reform through work, a harsh sentence in a village stretched thin. Their dreams of studying while I toiled were shattered. I watched from the crowd, my face calm but my heart torn. Satisfaction mingled with a flicker of guilt. Had I gone too far? The memory of their betrayal. Michael's fake death, Lai's cruel laughter snuffed out the doubt. They deserved this, but the weight of my actions pressed on me. Was I becoming as ruthless as they were? Back home, Linda Chen. Michael's mother appeared at our door, her face a mask of false sweetness. "Jodie, we're out of rice," she whined, expecting the flour I'd once given freely. My mother May stormed forward before I could speak, her eyes blazing. "Your family's poison, Linda. You dare beg from Jodie after your son's disgrace." Her voice shook with fury, a protector's wrath. "Get out or I'll make you regret it," Linda stammered, retreating under May's glare. My father Jian stood behind her, his quiet nod bolstering me. "You did right, Jodie," he said softly. May grabbed my hand. "If those leeches come back, I'll drive them off myself." Their support warmed me, easing the guilt. I'd ignored them in my past life, dragging them into my folly. Now their strength fueled mine, but the Scots' desperation would grow, and Michael and Lai's punishment only sharpened their resolve to use me. As I lay in bed that night, the village quiet except for distant dogs barking, I stared at the ceiling. The spirits had given me this chance, but the path ahead was fraught. Michael and Lee were reborn, their greed unchanged, and I'd struck my first blow. Would they strike back? My heart, hardened by betrayal, pulsed with defiance. The fields outside my window stretched, dark and vast, urging me to fight. I whispered to the night, to the spirits watching, "I'm ready." The late autumn of 1978 wrapped our Henan village in a chill, the fields bare after harvest, the air sharp with the promise of winter. In this post-cultural revolution era, Work points were lifeblood earned through sweat and traded for survival. The college entrance exams loomed a distant hope for those like Michael Scott, now burdened with double labor after my trap in the reeds. Jodie Young, reborn with memories of betrayal, stood firm in my resolve. Michael and Li Wu's plan to exploit me again had been thwarted, their public shaming a first victory. But the Scots' greed ran deep, and I knew they'd try again. The ancient spirits of our land, who had granted me this second chance, seemed to watch, urging me to outwit them. Michael appeared at my door one morning, his face pale, his eyes hungry, as they fixed on the bowl of steaming ribs in my hands. My mother, May, had simmered them for hours, a rare treat. "Jodie," he said, his voice low, "can you help us? We're starving." In my past life, I'd have melted, giving everything. Now I laughed, sharp and cold. "Didn't you love sneaking around with Li Wu?" asked her. His face flushed, but he pressed on. "It was a misunderstanding, Jodie. I swear." I raised an eyebrow, my voice cutting. "Caught by the patrol, locked up all night, and you think I'm that stupid?" "We're done, Michael." His jaw tightened, pride wounded, and he stormed off. My heart thumped with triumph, but a pang of sorrow lingered. Once I'd loved that face. Later, Michael's mother, Linda Chen, confronted Uncle Lee, the village accountant, demanding my work points. "They belong to us," she shrieked, her voice echoing in the village office. Uncle Lee, gruff but loyal to my family, scoffed. "Jodie's points are hers. You've leached enough." Linda's tantrum drew stares, her family's reputation crumbling. Back home, I told May and Jian, my father, the village leader. May's eyes blazed. "They'll get nothing from us." Jian nodded, his calm strength steadying me. "You're free now, Jodie," he said. Their support anchored me, but I knew the Scots' desperation would grow. They hatched a new plan driven by greed. In my past life, after Li Wu rejected Michael, he'd taken me out of spite, and I'd slaved for them without a formal bond. Now reborn, I saw their game. They craved my family's resources, especially after Jian announced that any bride price for me would be matched with double the dowry. The Scots, accustomed to comfort in their reborn lives, couldn't resist. I seized the opportunity, demanding a formal proposal. I said coldly, "If you like me, Michael, send a matchmaker. Otherwise, you're just using me again." His eyes widened, but he nodded, sensing a chance to bind me. The Scots schemed, Linda leading the charge. Their reputation was tattered, but my family's standing gave them leverage. Linda borrowed grain coins and promises, heavily parading the bride's price through the village with a noisy entourage desperate to secure the dowry. Jian accepted, but his voice was steel before the elders. "Swear you'll never betray Jodie, Michael, or you'll lose everything." Michael swore, his face stiff, the elders witnessing. I feigned compliance, claiming a leg injury to stay bedridden, offering no labor. The Scots' debts mounted, their borrowed goods unpayable without my help. Linda's fake smiles turned to panic, Amy and Eric's faces gaunt from hunger. Guilt flickered as I lay in bed, the village quiet outside. Was I too cruel, trapping them in their greed? But memories of their betrayal. Michael's fake death, their callous rejection, as I lay dying, hardened my resolve. The spirits had given me this chance to rewrite my fate, and I'd use it. The Scots thought they'd won, but I'd turned their plan against them. As I drifted to sleep, the wind whispered through the fields as if the land approved. My heart, once broken, now beat with cunning, ready for the next move in this game of justice. Winter's chill gripped our Henan village in late 1978, the fields stark and bare, the air heavy with frost. In this post-cultural revolution era, work points sustained us, each one a hard-won promise of survival. The college entrance exams, a beacon for the ambitious, were now a distant dream for Michael Scott and Li Wu, their doubled labor assignments, a punishment for their Reedfield scandal. Jodie Young, reborn with the scars of betrayal, had outmaneuvered them, my demanded engagement, trapping the Scots in debt. Their greed had blinded them, but I wasn't done. The ancient spirits of our land, who had granted me this second chance, seemed to stir in the wind, urging me toward justice. Michael and Lai, desperate to escape their workload, met secretly in a bamboo grove behind the mountain, hoping to revive their plan to use me. I'd anticipated this, my reborn instincts sharp. I tipped off the village militia, whispering of suspicious shadows in the grove. As night fell, I hid nearby, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and anticipation. Lai's bird-like chirp signaled Michael, and he answered, their silhouettes merging in the dark. I signaled the militia captain, a stern man named Zhang, who led his men silently. They burst into the grove, lanterns blazing, catching Michael and Lai half-dressed, their faces frozen in shock. Caught again, Zhang roared. Shameless. The village erupted gossip, spreading like fire through dry grass. The next morning, the square teemed with villagers, their voices a chorus of outrage. Michael and Lai, hands bound, stood before the elders, their dreams of college crushed under the weight of disgrace. I stepped forward, my hair loose, eyes blazing with 2 lifetimes of pain. "You lied, Michael!" I shouted, my voice cutting through the crowd. "You swore you had nothing to do with Lee." My fists flew, striking his chest, his nose bloodied as he howled. The villagers cheered their anger at cheaters boiling over. "Make them pay." Jodie, a woman, yelled. "They used you." My father, Jian. The village leader raised his hand. "The Scots must return everything Jodie gave, every point, every grain." The crowd roared in agreement, their scorn drowning Michael's protests. Linda Chen rushed forward, her face twisted with panic. "Stop, Jodie. He's my son," she wailed. A villager spat. "Your family's trash." Linda using Jodie like a mule. My mother, May, pushed through, her eyes fierce. "You knew about Michael and Lee, yet you proposed to our daughter. You're vile." Linda shrank back, her lies exposed. I turned on her, my voice raw. "You took my work points, my food, my life, and gave nothing but deceit." Tears stung my eyes, not from sorrow, but from a cathartic release. The villagers' support was a tide lifting me. Jian stepped beside me, his voice firm. "The engagement's off. The bride price stays with us, and the Scots owe Jodie everything." As the crowd dispersed, I stood alone, my chest heaving. Rage had fueled my blows, but now relief washed over me, mingled with a shadow of doubt. Had I become too vengeful, my heart as hard as theirs? The memory of my past life, Michael's fake death, the Scots' rejection, as I lay dying, quelled the guilt. They'd earned this ruin. Yet as I walked home, the weight of my actions settled. I'd destroyed their plans, but at what cost to my soul? May caught up her hand warm on my shoulder. "You did what you had to," she said softly. "We're proud." Her words eased the ache grounding me in her fierce love. The Scots were broken, their debts unpayable without my labor. Michael's face, bloodied and shamed, haunted me not with pity, but with resolve. Lee, ostracized, faced whispers and hard labor, her city's grace fading. The village, once indifferent, now rallied behind me, their scorn, a wall around the Scots. The spirits of our field's silent witnesses seemed to approve. My heart, forged in betrayal, pulsed with a new strength. This reckoning was mine, but the fight wasn't over. The Scots would claw back, and I had to be ready, my next move already forming in the shadows. Winter tightened its grip on our Henan village in early 1979, the fields frozen, the air biting. In this post-cultural revolution era, work points were survival, each earned through grueling labor, in a world still scarred by upheaval. The college entrance exams, a distant hope for escape, were now a lost dream for Michael Scott and Lee Wu, their reputations shattered after my orchestrated exposure in the bamboo grove. I, Jodie Young, reborn with memories of betrayal, stood stronger, my heart forged in the fire of their deceit. The Scots, Michael, his mother Linda, and siblings Amy and Eric, drowned in debt, their greed-fueled bride price a noose. The ancient spirits of our land, who granted me this second chance, seemed to hum in the frost, approving my justice. The Scots' house, once propped up by my labor, was a husk. Michael, bedridden from my beating, his face bruised and spirit broken, could barely move. Linda, Amy, and Eric toiled in the fields, their hands unaccustomed to work, their faces gaunt. The village shunned them, creditors knocking daily for the borrowed bride price they couldn't repay. Amy and Eric, once destined for universities, abandoned school, and their dreams were crushed by endless labor. Linda's health faltered, her steps slow, her coughs echoing in the cold. My parents, Jen and May, watched with grim satisfaction. May said they're reaping what they sowed, her voice sharp as she stirred porridge in our kitchen. Jian, the village leader, nodded. "You're free, Jodie. Please stay clear of them." Li Wu too suffered. The bamboo grove scandal stripped her of her city grace, leaving her ostracized. Villagers whispered, assigning her the dirtiest tasks, cleaning ditches, hauling manure. She'd hoped Michael would secure me to ease her load, but my refusal left her stranded. The Scots, desperate to shift blame, hatched a vile plan. They lured Lai to an abandoned temple, claiming Michael wanted to plan their future. Instead, old Lee, a lecherous bachelor in his 40s, waited. The Scots had paid him with stolen grain to frame Lai. She arrived, her heart hopeful, only to be overpowered by old Lee. A crowd tipped off by the Scots appeared, finding Lai disheveled. Old Lee claiming she'd seduced him. Grain coupons in her pocket planted by the Scots sealed her shame. She's a tramp. A villager spat. Lai's cries of innocence were brushed aside and her college dreams died. Old Lee Brazen sent a matchmaker to propose, but Lai refused, her spirit broken. The village scorned her, her reputation ruined in an era unforgiving to women marked by scandal. Michael, witnessing her disgrace, felt his love for her crack. He'd adored her grace, but now saw only shame. Desperate, he turned to me, limping to our house one evening. "Jodie, I made a mistake," he pleaded, his voice weak. "I choose you." I stared, my heart cold. "You chose Lai long ago," I said, slamming the door. May, overhearing, scoffed. "He's got nothing left but lies." Her fierce pride in me warmed my chest, but a flicker of pity stirred. Michael was broken, but had I gone too far? Then disaster struck the Scots again. Linda, gathering firewood on the mountain, slipped into a ditch, her leg crushed. Doctors couldn't save it. She joined Michael as a disabled person, their household now two burdens. Amy and Eric are barely teens, toiled alone, their faces aged by hardship. The village's scorn grew. Even Uncle Lee, the accountant, refused them credit. He told me they've no one to blame but themselves, his gruff voice soft with approval. I nodded, but doubt gnawed. My vengeance was just yet its cost weighed on me. Had the spirits meant for me to heal or destroy? The memory of my past life, Michael's fake death, their rejection as I died, silenced the doubt. They'd earned this. As I walked home, the frozen fields stretched silent, the spirit's presence a quiet pulse. My heart, hardened by betrayal, beat with resolve. The Scots were falling, Lee was ruined, and I stood tall. But their desperation would breed new schemes, and I had to stay sharp. May's voice echoed. "You did what you had to." I whispered to the wind, to the spirits watching, "This isn't the end." My next move waited a shadow in the cold, ready to ensure their ruin. Spring 1979 breathed life into our Henan village, the fields sprouting green under a warming sun. The post-cultural revolution era still bound us to work points, each one a hard-won share of survival, but whispers of change, new policies, new hopes stirred the air. The college entrance exams, once a dream for Michael Scott and Lai Wu, were lost to them, their lives mired in disgrace and debt. I, Jodie Young, reborn with memories of their betrayal, stood at a crossroads. The Scots, Michael, Linda, Amy, and Eric, were crumbling, their greed my weapon against them. The ancient spirits of our land, who had granted me this second chance, seemed to hum in the breeze, guiding me toward a new path. Amid the Scots' ruin, I met Liang, a soldier from a neighboring village. His warm smile and steady gaze disarmed me, contrasting with Michael's fleeting charm. Liang's family, his kind parents, Wei and Lan, and his lively sister Mei Ling, welcomed me at their home, a tidy compound filled with laughter. Over tea, Liang spoke of his military service and dreams of a better future. He said, "I want a life built on trust," his eyes meeting mine. My heart, scarred by betrayal, softened. We walked the fields, sharing stories, his hand brushing mine. Mei Ling, bright and teasing, nudged me. "He's smitten Jodie," she laughed. My parents, Jian and Mei, approved, their faces glowing. "He's a good man," Jian said, his voice warm. Mei hugged me, her fierceness softened. "You deserve this." As my wedding neared, Jian and Mei prepared a generous dowry, grain cloth coins, without demanding a bride price. Mei said, "You're our daughter, not a bargain." Her eyes were wet. The village buzzed, my happiness starkly contrasting with the Scots' misery. One morning, shopping for my dowry in town, I crossed paths with Amy and Eric, now gaunt and ragged, carrying firewood. Their eyes, once bright with ambition, burned with hate. I smiled, tilting my head. How does it feel to be laboring like I did, worse than death? Their faces paled, Amy's voice trembling. You came back too." Eric's hands shook, dropping his load. I stepped closer, my voice low. "Yes, just like you. In our last life, I gave you everything, food, work, points of future, and you let me die begging." Their silence was heavy guilt flickering in their eyes. "I set the fire," I said, my smile sharp. "I burned your family for what you did, and now I've made sure you suffer," Amy gasped. Eric froze, their fear a mirror to my past pain. "You're a monster," Amy whispered. I laughed cold. "No, I'm justice. You'll live, but you'll wish you didn't." I walked away, their stunned faces etched in my mind. Closure settled over me, a weight lifted. The spirits had given me this moment, a reckoning for my past. Back home, I prepared for my wedding, folding silk for my dress, my heart light. Liang's letters arrived filled with warmth, promising a life together. Mei Ling visited braiding my hair and her chatter easing my scars. "You're glowing, Jodie," she said. But doubt lingered. Could I trust happiness after so much pain? The memory of Michael's betrayal, the Scots' greed, haunted me. Yet Liang's steady presence, my parents' love, grounded me. May caught my gaze one evening. She said, "You're not that girl anymore," her hand firm on mine. "You've won." Jian nodded, his pride quiet but deep. The village, once witness to my shame, now celebrated my triumph. Uncle Lee, tallying points, grinned as I passed. "You've turned it around, Jodie," he said. The fields bloomed as if the spirits approved. My vengeance had broken the Scots, but this new beginning was mine to build. As I stitched my wedding dress, I whispered to the air, to the spirits watching, "Thank you for this chance." My heart, once shattered, now beat with hope, ready for a life free of their shadow. Summer 1979 bathed our Henan village in golden light, the fields lush with crops, the air humming with life. The post-cultural revolution era brought tentative reforms, loosening the grip of work points, but labor remained our rhythm. I, Jodie Young, stood radiant in my wedding dress, reborn from the ashes of betrayal. The Scots. Michael, Linda, Amy, and Eric lay broken, their greed and deceit, my victory. Li Wu was a shadow of her former self, her city grace lost to scandal. The ancient spirits of our land, who had granted me the second chance, seemed to smile in the breeze, their whispers a blessing on my new beginning. My wedding to Liang, the kind soldier from the neighboring village, was days away. His steady presence healed my scars, his warm letters a promise of trust. His parents, Wei and Lan, and sister Mei Ling, embraced me as family, their home filled with laughter. Mei Ling, braiding my hair, teased, "Jodie, you're glowing." My parents, Jian and Mei, beamed their generous dowry grain cloth coins, a gift of love. "You've earned this happiness," Mei said, her fierce eyes soft. Jian, the village leader, clasped my hand. "You're our pride." The village buzzed my triumph, a contrast to the Scots' ruin. Uncle Lee, the accountant, grinned as he passed. "You've rewritten your fate, girl." But the Scots' misery deepened, a mirror to my joy. Michael, crippled from my beating, lay useless, his dreams of college dead. Linda, now legless from her fall, leaned on Amy and Eric, who toiled in the fields, their young faces aged by hardship. Creditors hounded them, their debts a crushing weight. The village shunned them, their home a husk of hunger and despair. Li Wu, scorned and broken, burned with resentment. The Scots had framed her, with old Li ruining her reputation. Her love for Michael had turned to hate, and she sought vengeance. One night she crept to the Scots' house, her heart a furnace. She knocked Amy unconscious, pouring boiling water on her face, disfiguring her forever. Eric, caught unaware, lost an eye and 4 fingers to her knife. The Scots, now all disabled, clung to each other in a wretched existence, their screams shaking the village. The word of Li's attack spread a dark echo of my past vengeance. She vanished, rumored to have fled to a distant commune, her life empty, her revenge a hollow victory. I learned of it days before my wedding, stitching silk in our home. A chill ran through me, not fear, but recognition. I'd set their ruin in motion, but Li had finished it. Guilt flickered. Had my actions pushed her to this? Yet the memory of their betrayal, Michael's fake death, their rejection as I died, silenced it. The spirits had given me justice, and Li had claimed hers. My heart, once heavy, felt light, unburdened by their fate. The wedding day dawned bright. I walked to Liang's village in my red dress, the crowd cheering. Liang's smile, warm and steady, anchored me. Mei and Jian wept, their pride radiant. Mei Ling danced, scattering flowers. As we vowed our love, I felt the spirit's presence, their gift complete. Liang's military career soon took us to the city, and my parents and his family joined us. Our home was filled with children's laughter, and my life was a tapestry of peace. The Scots and Li faded, their misery irrelevant. I never asked after them, their names are dust on the wind. The fields of Henan, where my pain began, now held only memories of triumph. I whispered to the spirits, my heart full, "Thank you for this life."